Hello and welcome to Along the Way Life's Journey. I'm your host, Buccellato. Well, here we are in the third week of January 2025, and we've just had, I believe, one of the finest inaugurations in American history. We had an American outpour during the election in November. And as a result of that, our new president and his cabinet and his vice president and most of his cabinet will be signed in as official government of this country this week. It was an inspiring thing to see. People from all walks of life showed up for that inauguration. People from every race, every religion. They sat together, they prayed together, they gave thanks together, they celebrated. You know, I'm old enough to remember things like how people reacted in spontaneous reaction with flags all over this country after 9/11. And I saw flags all over my community Monday and Tuesday, everywhere. People were celebrating that the United States apparently has taken a U-turn. We've come back to sanity. We've come back to a place where people can be governed and believe that there is an opportunity and a future for this country. And a lot of the stuff that went on for the last 4 years, which admittedly went way overboard, has been put into spotlight, and most of it changed already. You know, there were many executive orders signed on the first day and many more the second day. And they to me, gratifying that it's going to change things in this country. The border will be made secure. People will be made available to pray and go to churches and temples as they see fit. Censorship will be stopped. The whole idea of people being given positions of authority in government just because of their personal agendas is over. It's a matter now of people who have integrity and people who have capability who will be put into these positions. And I know that there is a great sigh of relief across this country. But I want to remind us that we have to do our share. Everybody must do their share. We can't think that because President Trump has been elected, he will do it all. It took all of us collectively to elect him into office in the first place. The landslide was because the American people opened their eyes, had enough of what was going on, and said, okay, we are going to vote in a new government. But the government can't do it all by itself. We all have to do our share. And we have to be willing to reach across to the aisles, as they say, and communicate with one another and put away all these old issues that have separated this country for such a long time. It's time for peace in the kingdom. It's time for people to work together. It's time for us to recognize that we have more in common than we have differences, that we are only separated by the things of hate and vulgarity, but we're brought together by the things of commonality and faith and values that have made this country what it was for 250 years. Soon, next year, we will be celebrating 250 years as the most successful republic in the history of mankind. Now, we have to get there. We have to get there by doing our share. And let's remember, it's not over just because we have elected a new government. We as a people, we hold the most responsible position in government. We are United States citizens. We are citizens of this country, which comes with obligations and great opportunities. But our obligation is to vote, to become involved, to know everything that's going on in our communities, to vote for the local community people as well as we did for the government, the federal government. The way this thing occurred in the first place is because we became complacent as a people. We didn't vote to the people who were running our school boards. We didn't vote for our local judges. We didn't learn enough about them. We allowed ourselves to be hoodwinked and swayed, and the insidiousness and slowness of this thing took place over a period of 100 years. And we kept getting fat and lazy and allowing it to happen. Well, we can't let that happen again. We have to be diligent. We have to recognize that God has granted us a reprieve here and that this country has been saved. As I said a moment ago, a great U-turn has happened here. But those U-turns will not happen by themselves. They will not go to the completion by themselves. It's going to take all of us to do that. And by all of it, I mean we have to shake hands across the yard to our neighbors who may not think the same way we do. We have to be willing to speak truth to them, not to speak demanding and dilettance to them, but to speak truth to them. And hopefully they will hear and understand. Some of them may never hear and understand. They have been brainwashed in such a way that by a press that still hasn't let up. You know, we are very jubilant in this country about what's happened. But let's face it, there are still people here who will never give up the fight, who are never Trumpers, who hate everything about what we represent, hate what this country can be, has been, and can be again. And they want to change it. And so we may never reach those people. But there are millions who have been swayed by false press, swayed by false conversations, swayed by, innuendos and accusations that were proven to be untrue. Well, it's up to us to speak logic to them and speak peace to them. President Trump said he wants to be remembered as a peacemaker. And that's what we have to be. We have to be peacemakers, not appeasers. That's what got us into this mess in the first place. We must stand for truth. We must speak truth. We must never allow ourselves again to be downtrodden by people with small power and big voices that huddled us into corners and we didn't speak out. That can never happen again. We must speak the truth for this nation if we have a hope for this future. If we have a hope for the generations to come, then those of us that are here or know better have to speak out, reach out to our neighbors, tell them the truth, speak it to them, do it over and over again. But if it's clear that they are dyed in the wool and will never, never change, the scripture tells us to cast the dust off our sandals and move on, go to the next one. And that's what we have to do. We have a great, wonderful nation here, a wonderful future ahead of us. When I hear people talk about the golden age of America, I believe that. I think it's here, and I think it's possible. But possibilities need support as well. We have to all do our share, not only in the elections, but in how we day-to-day communicate with one another, in our cultures, in our churches. The church attendance in churches is going through the roof again. Isn't that wonderful? People who, for the last 2-3 years, we could not fill the ranks of new recruits to the military. People did not wish to become part of the American military. And now it's going through, in the last 75 days, recruiting has gone through the roof once again. Because people realize that they are willing to put their time, their energy, and their lives on the line for the benefit of the entire nation, this culture that we believe in, for this country that we believe in. And so they are, once again, recruiting and going into the United States military and learning and training. And once again, they will be built up to the strongest military force in the world. And that's the only way we're going to stop people who hate this nation. But remember, we are a people of peace. But we are a people of peace who will stand firm on defending that peace. So I say again, I remember as a young boy, the jubilance in the street and certain events took place when I was growing up. I can remember VJ Day, when people were celebrating the end of the war, Second World War. VE Day had happened sometime before, and then the bomb was dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and the Japanese government surrendered. And it was VJ Day in America. Flags were flying, lights were burning. For the first time in years and years, windows were open and people allowed the night light to go in and celebrate it and dance in the streets. I also remember what happened when the Brooklyn Dodgers won the World Series, and cars were driving up and down through Brooklyn all night long with their flags waving and beeping horns, and everyone was celebrating. Everyone was celebrating because it was a time of common joy and common belief that we can overcome anything. Well, that's what we have here in this country right now, a time of common joy. It's a sad time because fires are still burning in California. People are still suffering from the hurricanes in North Carolina. But I do believe we have an administration that's going to focus on FEMA and getting disaster plans done and getting work done in this country. I believe we have people here who care about their nation and care about our people, every one of us. So things will get done. And I think that, we're going to continue to hear some of these naysayers that nitpick. And, I saw people, a foolish woman made a statement. My wife told me this morning, a foolish woman made a statement online the other day about how terrible the whole Trump family looked, the women looked, how they were dressed. And she was immediately slammed with hundreds and hundreds of people that said, you have no eyes and no taste. It's about time we do such things. We stand up for the people that are working hard for us. Now, we talk the truth. If they were poorly taste in their dress, then they were poorly taste. But these people were not. They were beautifully dressed. And there was never a time that we should allow those kind of slams just because they are hateful people. Look at some of the people in the Senate, and they're already starting with anything they can do to stop this administration from being successful. They're taking lawsuits for this and lawsuits for that. They won't win. They won't win. This time, the American people will win. This time, we will not allow it to go to that extent ever again. And so I joyfully say to all of you, welcome back to America. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it great? The entire world is looking and saying, what a wonderful place to be. President Trump announced yesterday the new commission on AI, where 3 different companies, many, many billions of dollars in strength, are joining together and committing to $500 billion for an AI program to support the United States culture and the United States people, to work in tandem with the medical industry, to make this not only the safest, but hopefully when Bob Kennedy is elected as the secretary, when he's appointed in, we will become once again a healthy nation. A healthy nation. Think of that. Today I'm jubilant, but I'm also sad at the same time because I'm thinking of a number of people that I know that are very dear to my heart that are suffering from cancer. And, I would ask that everybody within the sound of my voice take a moment and pray for the healing and the renewal of all these people who are suffering from this terrible disease. Terrible disease. I love them, and I know that you would as well. I won't name any names, but I will tell you there are many people that I know that are suffering from cancer. God bless them, and may they recover. May they recover as this nation is recovering. We are a people of faith, and we should never forget that. Behind me on that stand there's a statue, and that statue are the warriors of God, the people who carry through with the armament of God. Every day I say that prayer. I put on my helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, walk in the shoes of the gospel of peace. In the left hand, the shield of faith, and in the right hand, the mighty sword of the word. And I believe that. I believe we are people of faith, and that together, God will grace us, and we will overcome. And so I thank you for this improper time that you've allowed me to just speak for a moment or two. I know that when you saw the inauguration and you heard Carrie Underwood pick up this slack there when the music stopped, when technology stopped, she just came forward and with joy in her heart sang that beautiful, beautiful accompaniment to our country. And everybody around her, Democrat and Republican alike, you could see them in the background singing the words because it's a uniter. It's a uniter of the people. And that's what we should always think and remember. We are one people under God, regardless of where we came from, regardless of how we look, regardless of the languages we speak or have spoken in the past, or the dialects that we have, or the slang from the part of the country we got from. We are one people. We are Americans. And God has graced this country. And so I say to you once again, God bless you one and all. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget, get somebody you know today, grab them in a bear hug, and tell them you love them. Tell them you love them. It may be the only time they hear those words. And I'm quite sure God loves them as well. And he loves you, and he loves me. God bless. Bye-bye.